Matthew 11, verse 28, because God would have us to rest. I just like to think that a lot of times we think we have to keep going because we serve a God who neither slumbers. When we read that, that is God in all of his glory. And Jesus, being both human and divine, gave us examples. And so for him, walking in the flesh here with us, he did rest. He did take naps. Okay, so the scripture, Matthew 11:28, says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Okay, so the first number, 133, tells us that adequate rest is important or imperative to refresh and it is imperative to be refreshed and ready to take on the new day. And so lack of sleep can leave you feeling run down. It will compromise your immune system and leave you with the difficulty of making decisions. Okay? When you're tired, you will have difficulty making decisions. When you learn how to rest and relax, you will potentially live longer and healthier. Amen. Tense, frustrated, worried, and uptight people race their engine without going anywhere. So let's talk about that one for just a little bit. Lack of sleep, leaving you feeling run down, and it can compromise your body's natural defenses and immune system. Okay? Now we know that our body, God has made our bodies to be able to heal itself. It will make antibodies when anything tries to enter in to fight it off. But like anything else, if you run something down, it can't do what it was created to do. Here, Bishop in his book gives us an example. He said many years ago, the Andrew Carnegie Foundation did an experiment on the amount of work people can do. They observed a regular shift of men loading 12 tons of iron on flat cars and had a management expert time them. He set up a new routine that had them rest 34 seconds and then work 26 seconds of picking up and carrying throughout the day. That shift loaded 47 tons by learning to work and rest. They nearly quadrupled the amount of work within the same amount of time by replenishing themselves. Now think about that. We live in a time where we try to fit into a 24-hour day, and we really don't have 24 hours that we work. But we try to get as much crammed into a day as we can, you know, without getting that rest, right? We don't even take time to stop and cook a good home-cooked meal because we are running. We got to do this. We got to do that. So we run by the fast food. Why they call it fast food? Because we always on the go. So you need something quick and fast. And we know from our previous lessons that we need nutrients for our body. That fast food is not real food. In some of the cases, and I don't want to name any other restaurants out there, but we know we already talked about it, how some of the food, how in the world you gonna leave some French fries in your car and a year later, they look like they looked when you bought them. No, real food will spoil. So that ought to make us think a little bit, okay? But that lack of sleep, we need it. We have, when I think about back in the day before we had until the sun went down, which if it was 5:30, you were in the house and you were in bed at a good, decent time until the sun came up. There were no TVs, there were no cell phones, there were no computers. We have all that blue light in our eyes. We are constantly trying to do as much as we can in the 8 hours or so that we have. And it is running havoc on our body. So again, we're talking about the ultimate boost from within, being the most healthiest that we can be. Okay, 134, the next one. Does anybody want to add anything about the importance of having that adequate rest?
I just want to say I noticed, well, it was kind of exposed during the pandemic how a lot of the people who, especially in the beginning, lost their lives. It was people that were described as burning the candle at both ends, those people who would just work. And I actually happened to be one of them, would just work at the time. And so, we got to see, how that lack of rest, and that lower immunity, really affected people.
At 7 o'clock, we was in bed. And kids, nobody didn't have no TV to watch then. Radio to listen to. And get up, my mom get up at maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, cook. And my dad had to be in the field before the sun up. And it's kept us rolling like that, yes. It made a difference, yes. And so I come up in the place that really kept me after I even got grown. They followed like they was doing, stayed healthy, yeah. And we'd ate off the farm, wasn't nothing from the grocery store but sugar and flour. We ate the rest, yes.
And that is so important that we get into those good, healthy habits. Number 134 tells us that the human heart is one of the best examples of work and rest. It pumps and rests. It works and completely relaxes. The heart can last indefinitely if it is free from disease. Most of us don't know how to totally relax. We mix work and worry with our rest. We say we don't have time to stop and relax. We got too much to do. And then we feel guilty when we do stop to rest. Like there's a example, a story that Pastor put in the book about the woodcutter who doesn't stop to sharpen his axe. And so the story says that there was a woodcutter when a man saw him chopping and asked him to stop and sharpen his axe. But the man said he didn't have time. He had too much wood to chop. A sharp axe would be so much more efficient in getting the job done. Many are like that before relaxing. They have too much to do. We would be so much more productive if we would stop and rest. But we are so concerned with getting as much of it done in that day. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes, just burning the candle at both ends. Like you said, during the COVID, when we couldn't get out. So the nurses, the doctors that were in those hospitals, oh my goodness, they were there. They were, what were you all called, the essential workers? And it was like the rest of us, we couldn't go in. We got a lot of rest, but again, we weren't doing some of the other things that we talked about. We weren't exercising, we were taking advantage of that time. So there is a balance of the eating the right nutrition, getting the right amount of exercise, and adding to that the rest that we need. Okay? It says fatigue is mostly emotional when we find ourselves being fatigued. 2 hours of worry and frustration position at a desk will tire you far more than 8 hours of digging ditches. Emotional uptightness tenses our muscles and tires us out. Positive accomplishments keeps you from getting tense. Um, when a salesman makes a sale or an executive finishes a task, he feels great. But when you keep putting things off, you get frustrated. Negative habits create fatigue. Don't put things off. Do it now. Any comments on that?
I think just as an addition to what you said, Tasha, during COVID, medical workers, I mean the hours that were demanded of them, but in addition, the emotional arena in which they were operating. Fatigue is mostly emotional. I think it took a huge toll on people, and that was most unfortunate. Okay, I'm turning it up.
I was in a building which was like a memory care for males, and like within, I would say 2 months, like half the building passed. So yeah, it was a lot.
And there was a lot of worry, I believe, during that time too. People had a lot of stress and worry about COVID, and this is something we didn't know about, what the outcomes was going to be, uh, and people were dying, and it was just like a lot of worry. And so one of the things in Matthew 6:25 uh, through the verse of 34, Jesus tells us about, about not worrying about our life, not worrying about what we're going to eat or drink or what we're going to wear, that, that life is more than food and the body more than clothes. And so he's trying to tell us that, can any one of us add a single hour to our life by worrying? And that is one of the biggest things that I think that we're seeing even right now with what's going on in our world. The worry of not knowing, the rising prices, of the food, and the coming tariffs, and what is that going to do? So we have a lot of worry, and we go to bed with that worry. And so number 135 in the book says, after starting a fresh new day, we need to learn to relax and stop worrying and begin fresh in the afternoon. Um, and so Bishop talks about here, like suppose you were on your way to the airport and your gas tank was on empty. You would worry about whether you could make it or not. If your tank was full, you would not worry about it, right? You would just take the trip, wherever it is that you had to go. We need to concentrate. We tend to concentrate on the worries and the negatives. It does not take any more gas to run on full than it does on empty. Right? He said, so give yourself that comfort cushion in your gas tank, in your bank account, and your physical and emotional energy tank. Learn to rest before you get tired. Just like you would not wait until you are starving before you get something to eat. We have to have a mental and emotional feeding with rest, relaxation, and positive motivational materials. So we need to really recognize when we're tired. Why do we tend to keep pushing ourselves? You know, and I'm talking to myself. It's like, because I want to get this done. I don't want to have to be, facing this the next day, because if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it then. But the problem with that is, you're so tired that you end up not getting it done anyway. Now you're going to bed 2 a.m., Natalie, and then you get and then you get up and you still haven't accomplished, and now you're tired. And now you got to face the day tired, exhausted. Whew. And it does affect your emotional being. And so we need to learn um, how to have a complete relaxation and letting go of worries and tensions, so that we have more refreshing hours of sleep. Because if not, we're going to be tossing with anxiety, tossing and turning, thinking about what we got to do. And a grapevine that had been made by the man's family for centuries. The parishioner told the pastor, "I will give you a gallon if you thank me from the pulpit next Sunday morning." Well, that Sunday morning, the pastor announced, "We wish to thank Brother Bill for the lovely gift of fruit that we received from him this week, and especially for the spirit in which it was given." He said, "You can come up with innovative solutions to every situation if you learn not to worry." Right, because he would have been thinking, "Now, what if I get up there and thank him for the wine?" And then everybody would be looking at him like, "Pastor, you drinking wine?" Right? For whatever reason they may be thinking. But when you are rested and you're not worrying about it, then there are so many ways that God will give you how to handle that solution. He didn't lie. He did get some fruit. And he said, and in the spirit, and in the spirit in which he gave it to him. So I thought that was pretty good, because if you know when you're tired, at least for me, my thinking is way off. And so we need to really get into that, about starting fresh each new day. We need to learn how to relax, and we need not to worry. I don't know, that is a big thing I notice with a lot of people. We could say we trust God, and then something happens, and what do? We worry. We worry about it. The doctor gives us a diagnosis, and we say, "Okay, God, I trust you. I know you're going to bring me through this." But it's something about within our nature that makes us worry. What if it doesn't? What if this is, whatever our worry is. But the Bible again tells us, do not worry about your life. Don't worry about what you're going to eat or drink. When the money get low and your bank book is not looking like it's going to meet all the needs, he tells us don't worry. Because worrying is not going to add not 1 hour to our life. It ain't going to move no mountains. It ain't going to pay no bills. All worry going to do is tire you out. And then Proverbs 3:5-6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Okay. Any comments on that one? Okay. All right, number 136, positive thinking versus negative thinking. A significant number of people in hospitals today are there because of the way they think. The attitude you go to bed with each night will determine how you will get up the next morning. If you think about all the good things that happen, you will have a positive feeling and a positive spirit. If you think about the things that were left undone, you will have a feeling of frustration and worry, and you will not rest and relax adequately. I just kind of summarized what 136 was saying. Um, so any comments on that one? Just think about that. People in the hospitals are there mostly because of the way they think. You know, and that's true. You know, what does the Bible say? So as a man thinketh, so is he.
When they first told me that I had leukemia, I immediately got a depressed spirit. And my first thought, I got one, but I left it at home. My first thought was that I would not want to come back out of the bed. I wanted to go to bed and cover my head up and just wait for whatever was going to happen. And so as I was going through this, God said, get up, wash your face, go to work. And he said, that is why people, I wasn't trying to look around. He said, that's why people die immediately when they hear cancer. Because we automatically take the negative and we take that to be the truth. But what is true is what God's word says. It's a fact that I have blood cancer, but the truth is I am healed by the blood of God. By his stripes I am healed.
Yes,
and his blood covers me. So I was able to get up, and he said, get up and write, because I journal. He said, get up and write about this. And when I opened my journal, I opened to a page from 10 years before when I had, I don't know if it was 10 years before, but, well, yeah, because I had liver disease. And with my liver disease, I had journaled about it. And when I opened that book that day, the title that I saw said, this day, I am healed. And it was about the liver disease, but it was about my cancer as well. And I'm still taking medication for that, but I am healed by his stripes.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for sharing that. That, thank you. That was a beautiful testimony. And that is what I believe God wants us to understand. Like when you journal, just the same way when we take this word and we get it in our heart and we go back and read it and it encourages us. The scripture that I put down for this one was Philippians 4:8. Anybody know that scripture? Sister Kiana.
Now that I'm put on the spot, it ain't coming to me. But finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things.
Amen. Amen. I mean, that. Because you would always get all the stars when Pastor would ask us. So, yes, finally, brethren. These are the things he's telling us what to think on, the things that are true. You know, so every fact is not a truth. And so we have to realize, so the doctor may very well say, this is what's going on, But the truth is that God says, by his stripes, we are healed. And so when we take that which is true, that we have believed about God, about his word, those are the things that will help us make it through. Whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just. You know, sometimes God will call you, you know, to do something, and someone says something about, you know, making you doubt if that is something what he has purposed you to do. And if you start thinking on that thing, you will start doubting something that you once had a confident, you know, thought about. And so we have to know that it is what God says about us and not so much about what the people say. And that is one of the things that will help us to stay healthy as well. Because if I keep telling myself something that I can't do, and I know it's detrimental to my health if I don't do it, right? You know, like get the rest. Because the minute I tell myself, I got to get this done tonight, no, you don't. You know, because the night is well spent. It is not going to matter whether it's done right now at 12 o'clock a.m. or whether you go ahead and get some rest and then get up in the morning and feel rested, your thoughts are more clear, and then get it done. You know, but, exactly. So why do we feel guilty about resting? Again, I say, Jesus took naps. Let's be like Jesus. Because when we stop and think about it, and I know it's a little further down about how important a nap is, you know, because there was a time, and we'll get to that, it's number 139, about taking a nap. And I realize how much, you know, as I'm volunteering in this daycare, and sure enough, we're just going to skip to 139. And it says, at midday after lunch, our biorhythm experience a natural slump as a mild sleepiness comes on us. These slumping biorhythms can be resisted with caffeine and other stimulants, because as soon as we feel it come on, we got to get an energy drink or we got to get some caffeine because, you know, I'm feeling tired and sleepy. But throughout history, many cultures have treated this natural sleepiness as a non-threatening occurrence. Right, siestas, right. Rather than resisting it, they have accommodated it by developing the culturally accepted habit of napping or by taking a siesta. Now, in the daycare, these kids, I mean, after they eat lunch, they are doing like everything in their energy, but they're sleepy. And you can tell they're trying to keep from going to sleep. It's like, why are you resisting it? You see them yawning, but they're, you know, they're just like crazy all over the place. But as soon as they will lay themselves down, there are some, as soon as their head hit the pillow, they sleep. Then there are those that will toss and turn and kick their feet. And I said, why are you fighting it? You know, your body wants this sleep. You know, and I'm rubbing them on the back, trying to help them calm down, because that's what they're doing. They're fighting it. How often do we do that? If our jobs would allow us just 30 minutes or a 15-minute power nap, you know, because he talks about that too. He says some of the world's greatest leaders took regular naps. Thomas Edison cat-napped up to 8 times a day. John F. Kennedy napped in the White House. Winston Churchill took daily naps, even during World War II. In the Bible, when his boat was being buffeted by the wind and the waves, Jesus was napping in the rear part of the boat. The disciples had to awaken him before seeing the miracle of him calming the storm. Napping can add energy and increase productivity for later in the day. If you have the opportunity to nap, try not to do so for more than 1 hour. A longer nap is not necessarily more restful. Even a nap of 15 minutes can improve alertness and concentration and help make up for a disturbed or shortened night of sleep. Mothers of babies and young children may nap whenever they get the opportunity and usually find these power naps quite beneficial. The most helpful naps are the ones you take in the afternoon, when you can take advantage of the mild drop in body temperature that induces sleepiness. A short nap in the early evening can add stamina for the hours ahead. It says a longer evening nap, however, may hinder the initiation of sleep that night. Learn to enjoy a nap without feeling guilty. Yes, yes. You know, it's like, oh, I had so much to do and I fell asleep. Well, good. You needed it, right? No, I had this to do. Well, you know what? If you settle down and stop worrying about what you might have missed, we can't even turn our phones off. You know, when you are when you are taking a nap, I heard that we should put our phones on do not disturb so you can fully nap. Because if not, as soon as that phone rings, you're disturbed and you look at your phone and it's a telemarketer. Nobody of importance, right? If it is important, is what I tell myself, they will leave a message and I can call them back. That is the hardest thing. My son said to me the other day, because I was on a call, and no, he was talking to me, and I got a phone call, and I said, oh, I need to answer this, right? So he's standing there waiting, and then while I'm on the phone, I get another call, and I say, oh, hold on a minute, let me answer this call. So, and so I answer the other call, and then when I finally get off, he says, Ma, you make yourself too available. He said, no one should have that much access to you whenever they need. He says, we were in a conversation, and all of a sudden, all these other phone calls were much more important. You know, and so it made me stop and think about it. If I was sitting there talking with Jesus, would that phone call be more important? Am I going to be like Martha being busy? You know, well, Lord, I got to take this call. He's not going to be, you know, like with Mary. He said Mary chose the better thing. Nothing else was more important than that time that was spent with the one that she loved. And so I think sometimes we need to revisit that. We're having dinner with family, and how many people are scrolling, and even the babies, my 1-year-old great-grand. I'm sorry, we have too much that distracts us, that takes us away from the rest in our mind. Our minds are constantly going. And it is not good, you know, for us. Going back to 137, it says, being relaxed and thankful with a positive attitude allows us to think better and make wise decisions. When you're tired, sometimes you can make a sudden decision without thinking about it because you're so tired, you feel like you got to make a decision right then and there. Somebody asks you, can you do something, and you know, and you quickly say yes, and not realizing you haven't even looked at your calendar, you haven't even, you know, saw what else was there, and now you feel obligated. Okay. I heard someone else say that you can let your calendar be your reason to say no. check my calendar, right? And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I already have, something else on my calendar. And so therefore, you need to pencil yourself in there, okay? I thought about penciling in that I'm going to take a nap from this time to that. Somebody say, hey, do you want to go do this? Uh, I have an appointment at that time, right? And it's not like, but every empty space that we see, we think we have to fill it. Yeah. Any comments on that? Anything you want to add to that?
I think one of the things I have always I think one of the things I've always enjoyed about this book is this is not rocket science. This is common sense that we just tend to overlook and overlook and overlook. And boy, this is one of the best books I think I've ever read. It is just so simple, so loving, so gentle, but so on the mark. And that is a real talent to be able to get all of those things woven into one thought. And I think that's one of the reasons I just really, really like this book.
Yeah, I like that too. Very practical. I mean, things that we would know to do, but we don't stop to recognize that because we're too busy keeping our calendars. Exactly, keeping our calendars going. I don't know. I'm sure you all have realized it's just like the days go by so fast. I can be sitting there, going over something and then get distracted with something else, and it could be 12 o'clock. Next thing I know, it's 4 o'clock. Where did the time go? Procrastination is one thing that gets us too. We have so much to do that there are certain things that we put off that we really need to have been doing. So we have to be careful of our time. I always think that I would like to, go back. I said to my son, it was like, well, about my time, and it's just like, and I might have said it to you too. I just want to go to an island. Just, I don't want to be bothered with people. I don't want to be bothered with time. Just to be able to go, no TVs, and just be able to sit, maybe journal, talk with God, see I don't know. How many of us get that kind of time, where you can just go sit. And then you feel guilty because you feel like there's something you should be doing, right? Anytime we just sit for a moment and be quiet, here comes a thought of something you should be doing or something you could be doing. So yeah, we have a lot to do with that rest. And the energy that we need is going to come from us learning how to pace ourselves, right? With the worry, with the anxiety. Again, it's not going to add, the Word of God tells us that worry is not going to add 1 inch to our stature. We're not going to change anything by worrying. And therefore, in order to go to sleep, we have to be able to let some things go. That's going to take us to 140 in the book. Oh, in the book, if you go back and see, in 138, Pastor gave us some physical activities that can assist in mental and emotional tranquility. And these are just exercises that can help you unwind. Very simple. The one like, imagine your head as a bowling ball. Sometimes my head do feel that heavy. just by roll your head, like just roll it around to the left, and then roll it around to the right, and just I hear the crackle. Right. He said, roll your head around, letting your neck crackle, and then go both ways. And so he gives, there's 5 that was listed. Putting both hands in front of you and squeeze tight, and then let it go. So, just giving ourselves, just, putting your hands out, squeezing really tight, tensing it, and then letting it go. That helps to release some of the tension. So there are several others, like doing those heel, like stand on your tiptoes and then relax. The others are like floor exercises, raising your heels and your head. This one was interesting. Number 5, moisten your index finger with your tongue. Place an imaginary mark in the center of your head. Close your eyes and roll your eyeballs up and stare directly at that spot. I was doing that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So just kind of, getting our focus somewhere else. And then we'll go to 140. Okay. Any comments? Any questions? Anything you want to add to?
Oh, when you was talking about stress, when they took my license, that's all I did. Sleep. And my house was a mess. Oh, I'm sorry. My house was a mess. I got a whole lot of house to do. Stuff packed the rest of it. I got to get up here and get some about this home. You know what? Got busy. It does make a difference. Because I get depressed more and more. I just, I can't be doing this. God is waiting on me. Pray. Yeah, yes. And so I got to take a lot of work, too. It took me some days to get my house straightened up, yes.
And see, now that's the opposite, and we're going to get to that one too, about when we allow ourselves through our thinking and what we're thinking about all the time, that negative. And so because they took that from you, that was like all you could think about and focus on. And what it does is it gets us into that depressed thinking. That was, let's see. That one I think was number, well, we're going to get to that. That was 141. But on 140, it says the loss, well, no, it's in this one too. The loss of one night's sleep is followed by 10 days of inconvenience. Up to 70 million Americans have some type of sleep disorder. Many cities never go to sleep. We have factories and grocery stores and service stations, 7-Eleven, restaurants that are open all throughout the night. And after we push the limits to the breaking point, what do? We push some more. Students pull all-nighters studying for exams. Nurses checking on sleeping patients. Taxi drivers listen to the all-night radio station driving people around town. Most mothers of young children work all day in the office and then work all night in the nursery. God's sleep is restorative. To be well rested is a blessing and not a waste of time. So we see the second and third shift workers. I don't know if you've ever worked, nurses have. But to me, that second shift was the hardest because it was like in the middle of the day, going in, working at night. It seemed like you never got enough sleep because you go in at 3, you get off at 11, now you're just kind of woke. You get home, you go to sleep, you get up. You don't have very many hours before you're back at work again. And so that third shift, the body could adjust because now you're going in at 11, getting off like at 7, but you're now at least adjusting your body. It seems like you got a little more time to rest. But whoever said that that was how we were supposed to work? The way I believe our body was geared was to work while it was day and sleep while it's night. And now we just work, work, work. We work while it's night, we sleep while it's day. We are so in a confused kind of a state that, yeah, it says here that a growing percentage of labor force may miss an extra 5 days of work due to fatigue. They may use more caffeine, they may suffer more drug abuse, and they may take 4 times as much sleep medication. So we see that sleep deprivation has become a massive public health problem. And then also, we don't sleep well because we have poor sleep habits. Developing a healthy sleep pattern by retiring at a similar time each evening and rising at a similar time each morning. Is anybody on a thing like that?
I have good sleep habits. I just don't sleep. Like I do all the things. I'm in the bed. I'm, not like scrolling or anything like I've taken all the work stuff out of the bed, go to bed at the same time each night, and I'm up out of the bed at the same time each morning. It's just the sleep in the middle my issue is I don't feel deserving of rest. Like I don't feel like I've earned it. So like if stuff is undone or I feel like I'm inadequate in some area, like my mind won't shut down until I've resolved that to my satisfaction, not even to anybody else's satisfaction, and I'm never satisfied. So yeah, I'm working on that.
That's that feeling guilty for resting. And that's where we can, pray and ask God to give us that revelation, kind of knowledge, or just giving us the wisdom, because our minds, yeah, what you say? Our minds do the most. So here he says that, he says we spend approximately 1/3 of our life sleeping. And some of the suggestions is don't engage in disturbing conversations before bedtime. Or even watching disturbing movies, because those thoughts are going to race through your mind. Instead, begin relaxing about an hour or so before retiring. And then don't have a big meal within 2 hours of bedtime. Limit your intake of caffeine. If sleep is delayed by racing thoughts or creativity, keeping a notebook or small recording device next to the bed is good, so that when those thoughts threaten your sleep, you can write it down or record it and then forget it. And yeah, I've been trying to do that. And that's an issue with me. I have my phone, I can record. I have a notebook that I can write, and these thoughts are just running through my head, and I'm like, I'm just paralyzed. And I'm telling myself, now just write it down. Just write it down. But I'm jumping from one thought to the next thought, and then I'm just laying there woke. So I don't have good sleep either. I mean, I can go to bed and I am tossing and turning. So I'm working on that as well. That's part of. Anybody have any comments on that? That what you do to help get to sleep. I've even listened to the sleep sounds, that try to help. A white noise, right? Just to try to get like a blank, like just to get the thoughts out. If I could start focusing on the music, I've even tried just playing the words, So, so there are things that that we can do. Um, but one of the other scriptures that I wrote down about that is that Philippians 4:6-7 tells us not to be anxious about anything. So whatever those thoughts are that's making us anxious, but in every situation by prayer and petition, that with thanksgiving we should present these things before God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard our heart and our mind in Christ Jesus. Now, when I think of him guarding, that's like, oh no, every thought the enemy trying to bring me, oh no, it's a guard, the shield is up, cannot enter my mind, But when when we really think about it, that's why it's so important to make it a habit to pray at night before we go to bed. So whatever has happened that day, that we can give it to God and allow that peace of God, because good sleep is restorative. To be well rested is a blessing, and it is not a waste of time. I go back to that. And then finally, number 141 tells us, do not go to bed angry or hold a grudge or bad feelings. We should always pray before going to bed and give those things to God. A clear, forgiving conscience will allow you to rest peacefully and cancel the plans the devil has to torture your mind and emotion. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Thank you. God bless. Be safe. So there again, a clear conscience will allow us to rest peacefully. So like you were saying, sister, about feeling guilty about resting. We got to be able to have a clear conscience that you did as much as you were able to do. Now, one of the things that I skipped over was in the book, Pastor suggests having a sheet of paper with a line down the middle and writing down the positive things that you accomplished that day. And then those are the things we can be grateful for. Because if we work towards having a grateful spirit, then we get more into being able to let go of the things that we haven't accomplished or that we feel we should have got done. We put too much on ourselves. Again, when I think about, we would always say it seemed like there were more hours in the day, but we weren't trying to cram as much in those hours. As they had, it took time. My mother would talk about, and I know that you know this, Deacon Campbell, they had to go out and pick the food. They would go out into the garden and, get what they had to get. So everything was fresh. I watched my daddy wring the chicken's neck, and put them in that hot water, get the feathers off. That was the best fried chicken. Oh my God, that fresh chicken. But that took time. They made their own biscuits or their own rolls, and it wasn't like just throwing something on the table. And so, we didn't have the microwave where dinner done in 10 minutes. So now what you gonna do with that extra time? Now you're gonna go do something else. You're putting so much in the day. Grocery stores open till 12 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock. Shouldn't we be in bed sleep? Oh, okay. Well, but that rest is important. So we want to remember that part of our eating well, getting the exercise, that rest. It is not a sin to rest. If anything, we need to recharge our bodies. I remember, and I don't want to sing the song, but God gave me the scripture in a song children at the time, and one started crying, and the other two started crying, and I was tired, and I'm trying to figure out this one, and I just sat on the floor, and I was just like, I can't do this, God. And the song came to me, and I just started singing it. And as I was singing the song, it was restoring me, and the house was quiet. The babies went to sleep, and I was restored because when we go to God with everything that is burdening us, God said, bring it to me. You know, if you're burdened down, if you're heavy laden, I will give you rest. He will take those things on, and then we can rest. So just remember the scriptures, the word of God, and I just thank God for this because it is very important that we learn to rest.
In those days, you live on a farm. Fruit was just right there in your yard. Go across the street. Find anything you want to eat. I mean, peaches, apples, and everything. And his chickens ate just like his children.
Oh.
That was slop.
Right.
That's one of them. And the smokehouse, you salted down and just stay like this 24/7. 5 days a year, didn't spoil. And we had health food. Midwives.
Yes.
All my brothers want a midwife.
Yes.
In the hospital. No chemicals. The doctor just come out and take your temperature. That's all we did.
Right. Take your temperature.
And it was very everything.
Yes. And people live longer. So grateful for that. Any other comments? Well, thank you all for coming out, and I just pray that something was said that we'll be able to take and apply. Everything we need is in the Word of God, and Pastor has done an awesome job, like Sister Cindy said, and just making it simple and practical. And all we have to do is just be willing to take it and apply it. Father, we just thank you for your goodness and your mercy. We thank you for this time together. And Lord, help us that we would come out of the darkness and into the light, and that we will begin to let you show us ways of how to apply it to our lives. Lord, as we go from this place, we ask that you would help us to go home safely, and let us rest easy tonight, Lord, thinking on your word, thinking on you, and Lord God, and just giving everything else that concerns us over to you, putting it in your to-do box. Keep each and every one safe. Remember our pastor, our first lady. Lord God, keep them safe and bring them home again safely. Father, we just give you all the praise, all the